I'm Michelle with two L's.
And I'm Natalie the Red.
And we are Force of I Entertainment. And today we're back for a review of the new MCU movie, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes.
Also known as Deadpool 3. But before we get started, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel and you enjoy movie reactions, you enjoy movie reviews, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also give this video a thumbs up. For those of you who are new, the way we do our reviews, the first part, I will tell you when we're going to could get a little spoilery, but we will give you our initial thoughts, what we like, what we didn't like, and we will rate.
And what we hated.
And we will rate this movie. Okay, so let's get into it. Deadpool and Wolverine. What did we think? If you guys have watched, and I'll give you my initial thoughts, but going back to when this first trailer came out, I was a little disappointed with the trailer. That's how I felt about this movie. This movie, my initial thoughts would be that it is a somewhat entertaining bad movie. That's my initial thoughts. Natalie, what were your initial thoughts?
It's kind of a mixed bag, I would say.
Yeah, a mixed bag. That's
initial thoughts.
That's another way I would kind of put this, because we'll get into that. That mixed bag, that actually does very much describe how I felt about this movie, because there are things I liked, there are things I enjoyed, and we're going to get into that. So what did I like? Well, I thought the first Deadpool was very funny. I thought the second one was pretty funny. So if you enjoy the Deadpool,
right,
you enjoy Ryan Reynolds, you still have that Ryan Reynolds humor, his quick mouth that's always going, mixed in with, you did get Wolverine in this, Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine, and they had a good dynamic.
I think they did,
yeah. They had like a good, but kind of, I guess, buddy cop, kind of buddy type movie, where they just kind of bounce off of each other pretty well, though they don't really like each other through most of the movie. But they had a good dynamic, I thought. And so I enjoyed that aspect and some of the humor. I thought, Natalie, did you like, I liked I thought the opening, okay, now we're getting into a little spoiler territory. Just want to warn anyone. So if you want no spoilers,
okay.
I feel like the movie's out. We're just gonna do some spoilers, guys.
You guys do it.
You guys can pause and come back after you see it.
Watch at your own. Proceed at your own risk.
Yes,
you've been warned.
I thought the opening sequence was pretty funny. That for me, bye bye bye, and him singing, doing the dance actually did work. I thought that was pretty humorous. I enjoyed it.
I liked that. That was fun.
Yes.
I mean, the gore for me.
Well, to me though, it's CGI blood. That's actually going to be in a negative for me. But it is gory. It is gory. There's a lot of CGI blood.
Would you have preferred it had been the real thing?
I would have preferred it be like practical effects blood that actually looks real, not just like CGI. But yeah,
because it did have a certain look to it. You're right.
It did.
Now that I think about it,
straight out of the computer.
That's
what it looked like.
Kind of like the Terminator stuff, like that turns into liquid, but the red version.
Not that bad. I felt that was better actually back in the early 90s. But
oh man.
But so I did enjoy that opening sequence. I enjoyed some of the humor really landed. I enjoyed some of the cameos. Again, spoiler right here. Spoiler, you have been warned. Henry Cavill is in a cameo as Wolverine. And he's like, we'll treat you better than the guys down the street. So is that like, are they letting us know, is Henry Cavill going to be the new Wolverine? I'd be down with that. Like, he'd be a great Wolverine.
Oh, he really would.
He'd be great. So
that's true.
I enjoyed, now some of it didn't land, but again, we're in spoilers here. You've been fully warned. You had Elektra, Blade come back, Jennifer Gardner, Wesley Snipes Blade. You had Chris Evans as the Human Torch. Come back from back in the day. And then you also had Channing Tatum, who I think was Gambit. I'm not really familiar with Gambit, but sometimes he really made me laugh.
Yeah.
That was a positive.
Oh, he definitely
I think you liked him the most.
I think I did too. Do you know, I didn't even know it was Channing Tatum till
really?
About like 5 minutes in, or like when it closed up on his face, and then I knew, and then it was like, oh, okay. But you know what? He was funny in that, like the 20 jump.
Oh no, he's
21.
Channing Tatum's very good
So
at comedy.
I haven't seen him in a lot, but I think he's funny.
He was funny in Free
just
Guy with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, no,
yeah, true.
He's funny. So I enjoyed all of that. Some of the kind of the final fight sequence was fine for me, I guess. So that's the stuff I enjoyed. Natalie, anything additional that I heard you laughing watching the movie.
I would say that's what I was going to really just touch on that. I think, some of the comedy worked for me. And so I definitely had a few good laughs, I would say, throughout, sprinkled throughout.
Is that kind of the only positive for you? and I will say, guys, for those of you watching, I have seen the Fox X-Men movies. Natalie hasn't.
I haven't. So know that.
Well, and that actually makes this an interesting review, because with her, you have someone who the member berries, that's not going to work. So how does they don't
work on me.
So how does the actual movie work as a isolated movie for a person like a Natalie who hasn't seen the X-Men movies?
Right.
So Natalie, is that kind of your positives? Because I think you probably agreed with mine. I think you enjoyed the opening sequence and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. I enjoyed that. And I do, like you said, I enjoy the character of Deadpool. I mean, I think, he's fun. But I think we're going to get into, I'll see what direction you want to take it in kind of first. But
okay.
Yeah, let's get into some of the other things that thoughts you have.
Okay, yes, we'll do that. All right, so we've gone over what we didn't like. I mean, what we did like. Let's get into what we did not like. Clearly, that was on my mind.
Right, it just slipped off the tongue, Michelle.
Clearly, as I said, Natalie said, it's a mixed bag. And I was sitting...
It's a mixed bag of nuts.
Yeah, I was sitting there, and I have to say that throughout this movie, there's not even like a section I could say, oh, I got bored here. Throughout this movie, I would find myself getting bored and reinterested, like throughout the entirety of the movie. And I think that speaks to an issue here that I do find with this movie. And that is, I honestly, if I'm being real with you, I don't think the script's that great. And I can tell you why I think that. In this movie, I literally counted 3 big exposition dumps. First, it's Deadpool. And here's the point of it, why I'm saying that's a negative. When a movie has to give big exposition dumps to the audience, I'm not reading a book. I'm watching a movie. You should be able to show me the story, not sit there and narrate the story to me.
Right.
And there were 3. I counted Deadpool, the guy from Secession that works for the TVA, and the villain at the end. There were 3 big exposition dumps of trying to explain what has happened, what is happening. And when a movie's having to do that, the script is too convoluted. That's just the way I would word that.
And then this might be embarrassing. I don't know, show vulnerability here sometimes, but I still didn't really understand.
Well, the timeline.
I still didn't really know what was going on or why exactly. And I just
No, well, here's the base of the story. So when an anchor character dies, in this case it was Logan, a Wolverine. When an anchor character dies, their world begins to die. They're basically doing a play on franchises, basically. When that person dies, the franchise is over.
That makes sense.
So they have to save. They've got to save, or he's trying. Here was another thing, Natalie. Did you notice the villain being the guy from Secession? He tells Deadpool, here's my evil plot within the first 30 minutes of the movie?
That's what I was like.
You were like, what villain does that?
Because totally, just based off like people's interactions, just watching, I was like, okay, so he's a bad guy. And then I was like, okay, so he's a good guy. And then I was like, he's a bad guy.
No. He was clearly a bad guy. He tells them his evil plan within like the first 25 minutes of the movie. So I would say this, that it did get a little confusing bouncing into different timelines. It took me, I was like, okay, this is the Deadpool we know. Wait. No. And then finally I was like, okay, that one's it. That one's the Deadpool we know.
Right.
Because the timelines get a little confusing when you're watching, which to me is just a problem with the multiverse. It just kind of gets confusing. I will say, back to positives, they made you laugh on making fun of the MCU some. Some of that worked for me. There were definitely some things that made me laugh with that. But overall, I just found the script very convoluted. It was a messy story. And I mean, I feel the movie was over 2 hours, but yet
it kind of felt it.
It felt it. I was kind of like, okay. But yet it just felt, again, the exposition dumps and stuff, that's not the sign of the best movie. Secondly, I would say that this movie felt, follow me here, it didn't feel like a Deadpool movie. It felt like Deadpool being placed in an MCU movie. And I didn't love that because you're in the third movie of a franchise. We've come to know the characters of Deadpool, and we barely got any of them. They're an afterthought in this movie. It is really just the Marvel Fox people. It just feels like you put Deadpool in an MCU movie instead of him being in his movie, in his world that we've all established over the last 2 movies. So I didn't really love that. And speaking of MCU movies, the massive overuse of CGI in this movie. For me, I love practical effects. They cannot be beat, whether it comes down to blood, whether it comes down to
Shell wants it real. We've learned.
Well, practical. Whether it comes, I mean, think of, we watched Blade. That looked real. It was practical effects.
True.
CGI stuff just doesn't do it for me. And by the time we were, I think, kind of in the midway point or working towards the midway point, I was like, oh, okay, this entire movie was filmed on a soundstage. And maybe for you, that doesn't bother you. When I can tell the entirety of a movie is filmed on a soundstage, it takes me out of the immersion of a movie. And I'm just thinking, I'm just watching a movie. Like, it takes me out of the world that I'm supposed to be immersed in. And all I can think of is they're on a soundstage filming this movie. So I didn't love that.
That makes, and I told her I'm really not even as picky about that. You know, like that wouldn't.
I am picky on that.
It wouldn't be like a deal breaker if there were other good elements. If there were if there were enough good other elements going on.
Because that's fair. Because I would say one of my favorite MCU movie would be Winter Soldier. But I love that original Guardians movies. And I would say they actually had my favorite trilogy of the MCU movies. And the Guardians are all filmed on sets. But yet you get so invested in the characters, you kind of don't care.
Right.
We're here.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you need.
We're here. They're in this like nothing world. It's basically limbo through like half the movie. And it was like a place I didn't want to be in. And it felt Mad Maxy. And I've not even seen Mad Max, but it's just like, that's what it felt like. And I didn't really enjoy being there.
I understand that. Yeah.
And then thirdly, I would say for anyone out there who's thinking about taking your 12, 13-year-old kid, this is a hard R.
A hard R.
And it's not because there's no nudity. It's not like that. But because of the verbal, like, crassness of what is said.
It's very and you guys, before you get on to me, I understand it's
a Deadpool. He's gonna be that way. It's Deadpool.
I totally understand that, but I do think some of the talk, it kind of crosses over into vulgarity that as a lady I don't particularly want to hear. That's all. That's what I'm saying. But you have to realize it's coming from my perspective.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. If you're a parent, if you want to take your 12, 13-year-old, that's your prerogative, but it's going to be a little awkward.
Yeah,
it's going to be awkward
I don't
at moments.
Hear, and kids probably should not be hearing.
No, kids should not be seeing this movie. It is very, very crass. I mean, that's just the way I would say it. I will say there was a point. And I know all the Deadpool movies say the F word a lot. So please hear me with what I'm saying. But there was a point where it's like if someone says, let's effing go one more time.
Right.
Like that exact line.
Yes.
Like it's just kind of, again, back to the script. I'm starting to feel like you just couldn't write a good script because we had to write let's effing go for the 50th time.
Right.
And
it should never be like every other word kind of thing, in my opinion. Unless it really makes sense. Okay, now you guys are going to get me for this. But if it really makes sense for this character, and I know Deadpool, okay, yes, but I think you have to see it to understand what we're saying, that it's just a lot in the movie.
It's a lot. And it is a hard R. So know that. I will say too, like, here's another example. Like, we all saw this in the trailer, him being referred to as MCU Jesus because he's going to save the MCU. it was kind of funny the first time. By like the third or fourth, it wasn't funny. It was just like, good Lord, like you have overplayed this joke so massively that it's starting to annoy me, quite frankly. But yeah, Natalie, are there any other things that kind of caught your attention with this movie?
I'll probably think of them later, but gosh, I'm trying to think if there's anything
there was a lot that I didn't love about this movie. If it's not evident at this point, I think
it came through.
And I went into this movie fully believing I would come out with a positive review. I truly did. I've enjoyed the other
there was no like slant going into it.
No.
You know?
And then another thing that at times felt awkward for me, if I'm being honest with you, is you've got Deadpool that is just so silly, played next to Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, who is so dead serious and actually has real emotion. And at times it almost felt like tonally off between the two.
Like kind of like two different movies.
Yes. Like Hugh Jackman was back in Wolverine. He was serious mode. He was excellent. His acting was excellent. Like he knows the character.
Like it was two different franchises.
It was two different franchises side by side. That's how it felt. One is a serious franchise and one is nothing but jokes.
And you know, when you are saying that, you're setting that up, like of course a lot of times that works wonderful. Like this it's classic, you know, the straight
weird tonalness.
The straight man and the more silly man. We see that a lot and it works great, but I see what you're saying, that it's more like
Hugh Jackman played it so serious.
It feels
and
like
he was good.
The worlds maybe are a bit too divided here.
Yes, they felt a little too divided.
Right.
Yes. That's the way I would say that. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I'm trying to think if there's any positives I can end on it. I was entertained. I laughed throughout this movie at different points. I did find different things entertaining.
Oh yeah, totally.
I'm going to be real with you. A lot of the fight scenes didn't do it for me. Like I will say, there is not a single, for me personally, there is not a single fight scene in this movie that I liked better than the hallway fight scene in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, for me personally. For those of you who have seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That's me. I know some of you guys who love Wolverine, you're not going to feel that way. That's fine. I get that. I should put this disclaimer at the beginning. Most people are going to enjoy this movie. We're probably in the minority.
Yes.
That's totally fine. I expected to like it more. I would say that I probably like the second Deadpool better than this one, quite frankly.
Yeah, I would agree.
The first one was definitely the best, like way up here. And this one, there were things that just felt off to me about this movie. There were things I enjoyed and some, great acting jobs and some things I really liked about it too. It was, as Natalie said, a mixed bag.
It was very hit or miss within the movie, I think.
Even like with jokes, they were very hit or miss.
Very, very much so.
So that's kind of our thoughts. Let us give us our rating. Okay, we rate on 5 being the max level of hoots, max level of enjoyment that we got. I'm going to give Deadpool and Wolverine, I am going to give this movie 3.5 hoots. Again, as much as I kind of harped on the things I didn't like, there was entertainment to be had. There are definitely things I enjoyed. So I give it 3.5.
I am going to give it a solid 3 hoots.
Okay. Yeah. So 3 hoots and 3.5 hoots. Again, I'm sure most of you are going to be giving it 5 out of 5, and that's fine. That's fine.
We want to hear from you in the comments. You know, we want to hear what was your what did you think of this movie? Did you love it? Did you think it was the best thing you've seen in a while? I just think a lot of people are going to think that, but we welcome all opinions here.
Yes, but let's just say for me, I'm someone who if I like something, I can go see it probably the same weekend. Like again, I'm that type person. If someone were to call me up and say, Michelle, will you go see Deadpool and Wolverine with me? I'd be like, it'd be tough sell for me. Is what I'm trying to say. I don't know that I have any desire to watch it again. Is what I'm saying.
Right.
Once was kind of enough for me, quite frankly. But yeah, 3.5 and 3 hoots. But share your thoughts below. Let us know what you think of the movie. Share your thoughts below.
Don't be mad at us, please.
Yeah, we don't mind if you loved it. That's great for and
we love
guys.
That. We love that for
and
you.
guys, I'm excited that this movie's going to make a lot of. I'm excited for the theaters. The theaters need this, so I'm glad for the movie theaters to make money. But share your thoughts below, and if you have not yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also, give this video a thumbs up. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to be a force of light. All right, bye guys.